Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weishuhn. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend Luke Clayton and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smoking techs, electric smokers, feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, hello, my friends. It is your old buddy Luke Clayton, and we've got a good show lined up for you. If you like the outdoors, you're going to enjoy the next hour. I almost guarantee you will. First segment is always Campfire Talk with Mr. Larry Weishuhn, my good friend, hunting companion, sitting around the campfire buddy, and all that kind of stuff. Larry, thank you for being with us. I appreciate you. I know this is a busy time of year for you.
It is, Luke, and you're right. I wish we were sitting around a campfire right now. And I guess the way we are, kind of a virtual campfire.
We are, yep.
And we need to thank DSC, Dallas Safari Club, Conservation, Education, Hunter Advocacy, Hornady, accurate, diddly, dependable, stealth vision made in Texas or put together in Texas, finest hunting optics, and Taurus with their Raging Hunter. And occasionally I shoot some of their Rossi lever actions as well, too. You caught me in a roundabout way on my way to the DSC convention, which will be there in Atlanta on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of this coming month of February, and going to be an absolutely great show. I'm on the road right now. Actually, I left a little bit earlier, trying to catch a few friends on the way there and take care of some business with some consulting work that we got planned just right before the show. But I want to make sure that we invite everybody that possibly can within our listener distances, and that includes a lot of areas, including now you've got a radio station there in Georgia as well too that listens. So those folks over there, if you're listening, come down and say hello to me there at the World Congress Center there in Atlanta. I'll be there the 6th, 7th, and 8th, and for one of the finest outdoor shows ever imaginable. So look forward to seeing people there, and you got a bunch of stuff coming up too, Luke. We're kind of running in different directions right now, but we still got some hunting coming up and some great fishing trips here before too very long as well too.
You betcha. Yeah, it's the white bass run's going to kick off, and I love to get in the creeks and
yes,
the Sabine River above Lake Tawakoni and catch those spawning white bass. We're going to tell about another event in Hunt County in Greenville in just a little bit that you and I have been a part of. You've been there with me all except 1 year. This will be our 7th outdoor rendezvous. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'll tell you what's been fun, and it wore old Luke out, man. A friend of mine out at Lake Ray Hubbard is Brandon Sargeant. He's a fishing guide. Hog hunts close to Dallas. He's a pretty good all-around outdoor guy. But he called me a couple of days ago, and he says, Luke, I've been splatting for catfish, and I know exactly what he's talking about. These cormorants. Right. Cormorants roost on these old dead stick-up trees up in the upper end of lakes, and the cormorants come in by the gazillions. They're feeding on shad or anything they can get their beak on, Well, so what you do, you ease up there, and he's got a boat designed to sneak them through those trees pretty easily. And you just take a cork and put a hunk of cut shad, or it really doesn't matter. It's the splat. They've named it everything. Splatting for catfish, all kind of different names. And I started writing about it and doing this 30 years ago. But to my buddy Brandon, it's new. He's only been doing this a year or two, But anyway, so you get around these cormorant roost trees. They're painted white on top because of the droppings of these cormorants.
Oh, yes.
So the cormorants, partially digested shad or anything else they can catch, goes into the water, and then those old catfish come up there, and it's like a chum, a natural chum. Well, Brandon calls, and he's got a local buddy there that fishes with him a lot, and they've got freezer's full of catfish, I guess. And he says, Luke, if you'll meet me out at the ramp at 11:30 or whatever, I'll load you up with a bunch of catfish, blue catfish, Larry.
Oh my goodness,
the best, man. And
the best.
So
You're
I've
right.
already got a bunch of venison. My freezer right now, I was thinking, where am I going to put this? But I figured it out. I couldn't turn it down. I said, Brandon, I'll be there. And I said, y'all will be tired. You don't worry about cleaning them. I'll bring a cooler. And Larry, I got out there at the ramp at Lake Ray Hubbard, which is just east of Dallas.
Yes,
and
sir.
met him. He had a 54-quart cooler. You could not put one more. You couldn't put another catfish in there. The biggest ones were probably, I'm going to say, 8-10 pounds, which is a good catfish. And a lot of them 3, 4, 5 pounds, full of catfish. And I stopped. I told them thanks, and we talked a long time and planned to one of the old boy. He's out hunting or took fishing. Owns down at Eagle Lake, has got a hunting operation down there. So a lot of sandhill cranes. He said you can limit on cranes every day. So we're going to go. You and I, you don't know it yet. We're going to try to get off down there next year.
You got it.
and also got a big, I think, 1,000-acre high fence deer. They're not hunting the deer. They're rebuilding their deer herd right now. But anyway, lodge and everything else. So I said, yep, we'll be there. How about if I bring Mr. Weishuhn next year? Oh, yeah. So me and you and Jeff will get off down there at Eagle Lake. It wouldn't do a little crane hunting. And a sandhill crane, I know how to cook them and with spicy sausage and roll them up in bacon and smoke them. They are good. I don't care what people – a lot of people are hesitant on any waterfowl, but those cranes are good if you cook them right,
You not only did you throw the cork in with a bait with a hook, you got me hooked because I grew up about from where that place is. I'm trying to remember town. I mean, less than 30 miles north of where that place was.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're down on the prairie, and I grew up in the gravel hills just north of the Colorado River there a little way. So that's going back to home country. I would love to do that.
We're going to do it. Then you won't have to drive 5,000 miles. You'll just go down there. No, that's on the agenda for next year, the crane hunt with them. And
we're in.
You bet. And we'll film a Sportsman's Life. We'll get Mr. Jeff, our buddy, Jeff Rice, to be with us and shoot. I dare say Jeff's probably never shot at cranes. Never went crane hunting.
Right.
But
man.
It's a lot of fun. They are big. They weigh about 15, 18 pounds, big old crane.
They're big old birds, I'll tell you. I remember from doing some work with them years ago, and I love listening to them. You can hear them for a long way, that sound that they make when they go over. And it always tells me when they start showing up in any number, kind of like the old wild goose thing. Fall is on the way. Of course, they'll be heading north there again sometime. But that fall sound of those wild geese and ducks, and particularly the sandhill cranes now, that really kind of gets my attention.
How many times, Larry, have you been sitting in a deer stand and on a calm, quiet day, and you hear that sound? That is the epitome of wild when those cranes
I love
it.
it.
Heard it a million times. Back to the catfish now. So that's a side. There's always a side story to everything in the outdoors. So that's Brandon Sargeant's client is part owner of this place down at Eagle Lake, the waterfowl and all. So they said, yeah, we've got plenty of catfish. So take these. I brought a 54-quart cooler too. We dump them over there, and I stop and get some ice. And later that afternoon, I thought, I'm going to do this old school. To heck with an electric knife. I want to get every bit of this snow white, blue catfish.
Ooh, yes.
And I used just a stiff fillet knife, one that you could, not a thin blade one, but you could had a little backbone to it. I think it was 37, I think it was, from 2 pounds to 10 pounds. And I had 5 gallons of snow white, and my tail was dragging. I mean,
I bet it was.
I mean, I'm not David Hansen when it comes to, David. You ever watch David rip through those things?
Yes.
Well, I do it a little. I cut it to behind the head there down, and then I follow the backbone until that knife will slide all the way through and then rip it. But old David just wham and rips. He cuts the. I've never seen anyone fillet blue catfish as fast as Guy David Hansen down at Tawakin. Have you? I mean, good God.
No, I haven't. But I'll also tell you that I've been fortunate to eat some of that.
Oh boy,
catfish that he fried, and oh my God, look, was it ever good?
Now, I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so the 28th of March.
Yes.
The 28th of March. It's a good thing that I've got this fresh catfish frozen, because that's going to be our 7th annual outdoor rendezvous. And a gentleman, a radio personality up in Hunt County, Northeast Texas, Friendly, was a great friend of mine.
Yes, sir.
He actually helped me start this outdoor rendezvous 7 years ago, and helped me promote it around there. And we're going to have it, and everybody's invited. There's no fee. You don't have to pay anything. If you're an outdoor person and you're going to be up in Greenville, Texas, at the Top Rail Cowboy Church, is where it's held, on about 20 acres outside. There's an arena, covered arena, in case it rains. It never has rained yet, but
nope.
If it does, we'll just move right inside and set up. But music, one of my Mr. Farmer is going to be there with his blues band, and then the church band is going to be playing, and we're going to fry catfish. I don't imagine my nephew Billy Kilpatrick, probably Mr. Phil Zimmerman, and probably Mr. Bill Carey with Striper Express. They're kind of our catfish frying team.
They are, and oh my God, do they do a fabulous job.
And this year, we're going to have an ample supply, so there's no fee to eat it. Just kind of get paper plate and get in line, and get you some catfish up there around the campfire. So to learn more, Larry, folks can go to catfishradio.org, and there's a little deal there that tells you the numbers to call.
Yes,
but
sir.
All you have to do is, if you want a booth there's a lot of people that set up booths. Just Google Top Rail Cowboy Church, Greenville, Texas. And there's no fee. We ask that if you can, leave a donation for the church, but it's not like you pay $80 and here's your booth. No. It's not like that. So Top Rail Cowboy Church, or go to catfishradio.org. And email Luke. There's an email from me there, and send me a note. But basically, all that's required is the people there at the Top Rail Cowboy Church know that you're coming. If you want a booth, otherwise just show up.
Just show up
and have fun. Get a good chance to, folks. It's a good chance to sit around the campfire with Larry. If you've never met Larry, He's got a story or two. He probably after a few years in the outdoors that he can share with you. So that's coming up, Larry. We're about out of time for our campfire talk this week, but you have fun in Atlanta at the Dallas Safari Club convention down there. I know you will, and we'll reconvene this time next week. How about that?
I cannot wait.
Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weishuhn is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34-millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on. That scope is leveled because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, this segment is made possible by Smoking Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time. I want to tell you about a one-stop shop for everything related to game feeders and fish feeders, Ultramatic feeders. I've been using components and feeders from Ultramatic feeders for 20-something years, I guess. They have the remote, which you can remotely activate your feeder with, the timer, the timer, which is the most simple timer that I've ever found on a game feeder. And then the eliminator. Check these out. They are worked on actually on centrifugal force, and they seal off the corn supply so coons and squirrels can't get to the corn. Check them out. Ultramatic feeders, you could go online to ultramaticfeeders.com. Well, folks, I do hope you enjoyed our conversation visit with Mr. Whitetail. Larry and I have been doing this together. We are celebrating our 20th year. And I'm going to tell you what, my friend Bill Carey coming up next. I haven't kept records, but it's been way over 15 years Bill, that you've been my guest many, many, many times, and keeping everybody tuned in. So thank you for being my guest today, buddy.
Well, mighty fine, and good morning, and all y'all out in radio land.
Well, I'm sure if they could holler back, they'd be saying good morning, Bill, and they'd have a question. We know it's cold, but February is just like almost here. Striper fishing in the winter. This is the time, Bill, that you catch the big ones. I know it is. So we want to talk about striper fishing. Folks, Bill Carey, Striper Express, I would dare say few of you are listening that don't know about Striper Express up on Lake Texoma. Bill started that thing off over 40 years ago, and it's one of the biggest guide service up there. And Bill and his team of guides do stay on top of these stripers. So, in the last, I guess we're about halfway through what you call the big fish season, right, for stripers?
Yes, sir, that's right. It starts, the end of December, and then I tell people January and February is our big fish season. It will carry over into March, but most time in March, they all start grouping up, and they start getting ready to run up rivers. So you'll get a good mixed bag, but we target the large ones in January and February.
You bet. And road runners, of course, I act like I know what I'm talking about, but I've been there with you so many times. Probably the big road runners now.
Yep. Folks, everybody knows about the Roadrunner jigs for crappie and for walleye, northerns, but they make one lure that they actually hired Wolf Baits to make this. It goes up to 1 ounce, and we have used the 1/2 ounce white Roadrunner for 40 years. We tip it with a white 7-inch curl-tail worm, and it's a big presentation. It's perfect. These fish are structure fish, so it's what we do. Bigger bait, bigger fish.
And that worm about the length, would you say, on that?
Well, I used to say 9 inches, and Blackmore even put it in their literature that I said 9 inches, but Chris said, no, Dad, that's a 7-inch curl tail.
Yeah.
So it's just something on the end, just to attract them, because it's a bucktail.
Yeah. And then that curl, it just entices them to strike. I'm sure it does when they see that coming.
It's just enough. Yes, sir. No. Luke knows, folks, that we don't use the paddle tail baits in the winter. It's too much vibration. So we'll use that curl tail, which is less vibration, and we'll use flukes with a forked tail or a straight tail. That paddle tail is just a little bit too much vibration because their metabolism is slowed down too. So yes, that curl tail is just enough action.
And I guess, Bill, instinctively, the stripers, they know a shad is not going to be the paddle, the fast moving baits. They know a shad in that cold water is going to be slowed down. I don't know how they know it, but they know it.
Yes, sir. I always tell people, folks, I got it for 25 years before I moved to the office. And I tell them, I say, stay in contact with that lure. And when in doubt, jerk, because that fish is going to suck it in. And it's not a vicious strike. It's just a suck it in. And their rod tip would jump about 1 inch. And that was it. And we call it the time release hook set. Because you're gonna miss a few before you get the hang of it. And I said, what they just did is they sucked that thing in, and it hit the back of their throat, and they went tooey, and you didn't get them in time when it was on the way out.
It's not always a real subtle bite, but usually in this colder water, it's not like you're ripping a slab in hot and warm water and that fish hits it going 90 miles an hour and jerks a rod out of your hand. I mean, you can get some hard strikes on those fish this time of year. I have, and I know you have.
It's a surprise when it happens because most of them are just pretty gentle. But boy, once that hook's in them, that fight is on. It all changes quick.
Yeah. So when you feel that little tickle on the end of the rod, and as the old timers used to say, rear back and try to cross their eyes. You know, you've heard that saying. Mm-hmm. Well, you know, you're thinking, your brain's telling you that's a little tap. It must be a small, maybe a box fish, but it could be a 20-pounder just as easily. You can't tell by the bite this time of year. Now, how about right. So the birds through February, they're going to hang tight, aren't they? Plenty of birds.
Well, you know, when we start getting cold water, they'll start lying to you because it might just be a few fish that found a ball of bait and chased it to the surface. So, you know, they're great fish finders in the fall, and they're great all the way up till New Year's. And then usually about mid-January, they'll start lying to you. The water's cold. Yeah. And then, you know, I tell people, you know, when I fish, I said, pay attention to them. But the bird has a way of winging it. In other words, you learn from experience. When the birds are just dipping down and picking up that bait, those baits are not real scared, and they're not running for cover. They're just kind of been pushed to the surface, and the birds dip them. Now, you know as good as I do, when they kamikaze and they dive bomb and they start squealing and acting like that's my bait, the birds do this, you know that's the real deal. But no, the birds will lie to you this time of year.
They definitely will, but they're still not something that you want to overlook, because if you see them, they're usually hovering, or when they go down and pick up something, they're looking for food. So winter fishing, really, to me, Bill, if I were given, I like to catch stripers up there any time of the year. Excuse me, but if you dress for it, honestly, I'd rather fish in the cooler. Now, I'm not talking about a blizzard, but, you know, when it's high in the day, being the 40s even, or 50s. Right. Yeah, you dress for it, and it's comfort. It's really exhilarating in a way.
Oh, yeah, you know,
but when it's 99 degrees out there, it's I don't know. You know, I just like it. I like the fishing in the cooler weather. When people get up there to book a trip that they're not aware of Striper Express, you've got plenty of lodging for them and all kind of programs for people. You know, you even have little tournaments at times for the people, for groups, don't you? You know?
You know, it's funny, Luke, and I'll say this because we get spread out on this radio. When you guys up north are drilling holes through ice, we're doing this down here. And we get a lot of people from up north come down in the winter just to do this striper fishing.
I know. That's comical, because our friend Jeff Rice, who is the producer of the TV show that we do called A Sportsman's Life, it's on YouTube, but most people watch it on Carbon TV, carbontv.com. But Jeff, a couple of weeks ago, was up in Duluth, Minnesota. His brother lives up there, and he speared his first northern pike. It's legal spearing them, and it got a big old spear. It looks like a modified pitchfork, really.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and Jeff posted some videos. Well, that's a show. I'm sure, probably, if not right now, within a matter of days, that show will be on A Sportsman's Life on YouTube. That's an easy place to find it, but Carbon TV, I always need to mention that too. But Jeff looks so cold. We got
special privilege. Yeah. We got special privilege. He sent us the tape of it. He's excited as a kid.
Yeah, he paid the price, because I think it was like, I don't know, 6-7 degrees when they were filming that. So wonder the camera even ran, you know. But but anyway, they got it. Bill, you know what? Before long. Well, it's not right around the corner, but the 28th of March, the Top Rail Cowboy Church, it's all worked out. The plans are laid. This will be the 7th annual outdoor rendezvous that we have, and it is a blast. It's on about 20 acres outside. You can learn more about it, or if you want to get you a booth, friends, you can. Just Google Top Rail Cowboy Church, Greenville, Texas, and then give them a call. You know, Bill, the booths are free. We just ask that they have an outdoor ministry that gets a lot of kids involved in the outdoors, and ask that they the folks give a donation, and that helps cover the whole thing, and plus it's a good cause. But it's a lot of fun. I've got a bunch of catfish stocked up, and I'm stocking up more. We'll have plenty of time to do it. But my goal is to have enough catfish to feed the whole masses. Now, you, Billy Kilpatrick, Phil Zimmerman, you guys are kind of the core fish cookers, the core group. And our friend David Cotton, or Edgar Cotton and David, that's father and son, they have these stand-up fish cookers that they require maybe a gallon or two of oil, but you can crank out, I think you've got one, you can crank out the fish with those things, fried fish, can't you?
All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're going to have a bunch of good food. Folks, and you got to come eat some of Luke's food. Luke is what I call Camp Cook Clayton.
I enjoy it a whole lot. And the pastor, Charlie Nasser, was up in Kansas hunting pheasant. And he says, Luke, you've talked about this recipe, Dutch cattle recipe for pheasant and quail. I said, I can do that in my sleep. And so he said, I'm going to bring a couple of pheasant. I said, well, we can't be feeding everybody, but a few core people here. It's a method of using butter, Ritz crackers, crumbs, pulverized Ritz crackers, and quail. You can do it with chicken even, but it's so good with that pheasant, boy. So, yeah, and there's booths. People ask me what it's like. There's people set up booths selling everything from jewelry to deer feeders.
Live music.
Blues this year. The Philip Farmer, who's a music director at another church, a Van Sickle church over there not far away, he's a blues man. So he's bringing his blues band,
Cool.
And we're going to move the stage over closer, centrally located instead of, in the past we've had
awesome.
We need that where we can, you can still talk, but you can just walk 100 feet and sit down, and you're there where the music is,
Oh, that's cool.
It'll be so much fun. Anyway, folks, just remember, you can go to my website, and all the details are there, catfishradio.org. You can do that, and the flyer is posted. You'll see all that. But, yeah, I want to welcome everybody and ask
Last Saturday, right? Last Saturday in March, right?
Yeah, the 28th of March. That's right. Well, Bill, people can track you down, striperexpress.com, on social media, and just type it in. How about a number people might want to talk to you?
I'm sorry, Luke. Oh, yeah, I'll leave my number.
Yeah,
It is 903-786-4477. That is 903-786-4477.
Well, thanks a lot, Bill, and let's get after these. I'm going to try to sneak off and catch some of these big stripers with you before long.
All right.
Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smoking Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smoking Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokingtex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. For seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com.
Big Sam left Seattle in the year of 92 with George Pratt, his partner, and brother Billy too.
Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramid Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, let's go all the way from Lake Texoma up to way up north. And let's talk to Mr. Jeff Rice. Jeff is just back from a spear fishing for northern pike and fishing out of one of the little huts straight down for walleye. Jeff, I saw pictures that you sent on Facebook, and it looked cold up there, buddy.
Cold is an understatement, my friend. It was when we were out on the lake. It got down to like 12 degrees below zero, and then of course, you factor in the wind chill, which the wind was whipping like you've never seen it before. It was estimated to be 40 to 45 degrees below zero with the wind chill. It was very cold.
Brutal. I've never experienced that kind of cold. I've been way up in Canada, even to the Northwest Territories in the summer, and I've hunted in North Dakota, bow hunted up there a lot in the past, but I'm always out of there by like, October the 1st. But I've never experienced, that's hard to imagine. You probably have to do it to fathom what it's like. But first, I would like to, I know just the rudiments of ice fishing. I've never done it, but I've seen people, talk to a lot of folks like you that have. But say you want to catch walleye first. Well, that kind of cold, you've got to have something to break the wind, and you've got to have a heater or two, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we had it's like almost like a pop-up blind or something, like a tent, if you will. An ice shanty is what they call it. But you pop one of those babies up and get inside, drill some holes, and clear out the ice from the holes, if you will. And then you've got little jigging poles, and we were just using little, like, tiny little jigs and just dropping them down and bouncing them up, just off the bottom. And the first night there, the first day we got there, we went out about 3:00 in the afternoon. We fished till dark, and with those little jig and spoon kind of things, we caught 5 walleyes. And it's just just jumping them up and down through the ice, through the little hole, and that you drill with your ice auger. And we caught a few good fish, and it did a heck of a lot of fun. But the one thing is, for doing this kind of thing, is just being prepared, having the right clothing, the right gear, everything. That's very critical when it comes to fishing like this. I mean, I grew up in Wisconsin, Luke, that, and I've never fished this cold. I mean, I've ice fished before many times over the years, but never this cold. It was kind of crazy.
Brutal. Yeah. So just out of curiosity, the walleye, you just kind of bounce it off the bottom, little tiny spoon, I guess. But would they hit it hard, or would they just thump, in that cold water?
You would thump it. I mean, it's something you would feel, like sand bass fishing or anything. You and I have done that with, just vertical jigging kind of thing, and you just kind of feel that. Okay. Boom, you feel that that bump. And of course, you set the hook, and we weren't fishing probably 7 feet deep. It wasn't deep at all. They come up into the shallows, and it's interesting because when you do feel that bump, 2 cranks on your reel, and that fish is coming out of the hole.
Out. He's on the surface. Yeah. Well, in this ice house, would there be, or the fishing house, I guess, there'd be 2 or 3 of you fishing. Would each one would there be one hole in the ice that everybody fishes in, or how does that go? Yeah.
We had a shanty that actually housed 4 people. And so one side of the hut, we would put 4 chairs, and then on the other side, we'd put 5 holes. And the one in the middle, we had a live scope. We were using a live scope.
Oh, boy.
And, everybody has their own hole, and the live scope would pick up all 4 fishermen's. You could see the jigs going up and down, and you and I have used live scope before. So you kind of get the idea how that works. But I mean, everybody have their own hole, and you just sit there, with a chair, and we got a couple of heaters going, and you're just jigging away, watching the live scope, and when they'd come in, boom, you'd catch one. So
would that, one other question, the live scope, whether you're fishing for crappie or white bass, they seem to always hit that lure coming up. Was it that way with the walleye in that cold water?
It was exactly the same. You'd see them come up, and then you just slowly kind of raise that jig up a little bit, like you're trying to, swim away. And it would just follow it up, and bam, it would hit it.
I got you. Well, that was some great eating. I know. I hope you had some fish while you were up there.
We did.
That's good. Now to the main story, or the big story. Now, this was new to me, folks. I never heard of spearing northern pike. I didn't until Jeff told me about it a few years ago. I didn't know about that. But that is a weighted out deal, and you speared a nice one. but you put your time in. It'd be like hunting a big buck, a trophy, an old 7-year-old buck. I mean, they don't just they don't swarm under you. You had to wait, didn't you?
Yeah, your analogy is absolutely spot on. I mean, you're hunting for one, and we literally put 2.5 days in sitting over a 2x4 square or rectangular spot in the ice that we cut out, and it was about 8 or 9 feet deep where we were at. You could see the bottom, you could see weeds, and then of course my nephew had a fishing rod that had just a decoy, tied to the line, and you would drop it down in the water and just kind of swim it around and just bounce it around, and it's a waiting game. And I stood right over the hole with the spear in hand, and of course the spear, you tether it to your arm, because when you drop or throw that spear, I mean it goes, and of course it's tied to you. So yeah, and we waited for 2.5 days. It was the last day, about 9 o'clock in the morning or so, a little after 9, and I mean, just out of nowhere, here comes this big pike and just absolutely hammered the decoy. And then it circled around and kind of came in and was looking at it like, what is this? And of course, I was ready to go, standing right over the top of it. And of course, I set the spear into the water slowly and lined it up. Of course, you want to spear them kind of where their front fins are, about there. You don't want to hit them in the head because they have really solid heads, and you don't want to hit them too far back. You just right behind the gill plates, almost, if you will. That's the perfect place. And of course, anybody listening to us here can go to A Sportsman's Life. We'll have that show out shortly, and you'll see where I hit that. It was an absolutely perfect drop. And, you kind of give it a push. You don't really throw it. You just almost put it over the top and just kind of push down and let go. And I speared him absolutely perfectly. And of course, once you hit him, they take off and they pull the spear with them, but it's tethered to you. So he didn't go real far. And you just, pull the rope back up, get a hold of the spear again. And then, when you get them lined up just right, you pull them out of the water and you have one. And, I've speared hogs before and I've done other things, but
I know
one of my bucket list things was to spear a northern pike. I've never done it. My nephew does it all the time. And I was very blessed to have the opportunity to spear a real nice, it was 39 inches and just a beautiful pike. And man, I tell you, what an experience.
Well, anybody that deserves to spear a pike would be you, Jeff, because folks, I've hunted with Jeff when he'd sit in a tree stand with corn underneath him, waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. You'd see hogs just about every time, but those hogs had to be right under him and then drop the spear, and you've done that successfully. Now you can say you're also a spearer of northern pike, wild hogs and northern pike. Now the spear itself, it looked like it was a pretty heavy spear. Is it pretty heavy?
Yeah, it's solid. It's got it's got 7 barbs on it.
Yeah.
It probably weighs, I don't know, maybe 7-8 pounds. I mean, it's pretty heavy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you, like I said, you don't have to really throw it. If you line it up just right and let go and don't even throw, it's going to drop really fast. And when those barbs go in, they don't come out very easily at all.
Yeah, well, and then that's another thing that's really, I'm sure that's really sharp barbs on those pike.
My nephew Robbie will hone those babies down with a file and get them super, super sharp. And so it doesn't take much. I mean, that thing just goes in them and it's not going anywhere, but really a lot of fun. And we were able to get the camera out and get some underwater video of the decoy going around and stuff. It was really cool. Well, you can see that.
Yeah. It's going to be out. It'll be out when the end of this month and when everybody's listening to us. So Sportsman's Life, folks. That's Jeff produces this show, and he and I, and he and myself and Larry Weishuhn, we do this weekly. Jeff puts together a fresh show every week, and you can go to YouTube and just search out A Sportsman's Life. Or and quite a few people watch it there, but a lot of people watch it on Carbon TV, which is a free site for all kind of outdoor shows. You need to know about Carbon TV. You can just go to carbontv.com and just search out A Sportsman's Life. Actually, Jeff, after all of our wonderful radio stations run this show, it becomes a podcast, Catfish Radio. And that's also, it's everywhere, iHeart, Apple, Spotify, but it's also on Carbon TV. So Carbon TV is a pretty cool deal that of course, most people know about it. But if you don't, you can watch a lot of good stuff, can't you, Jeff?
Well, you sure can.
Yeah.
Lots of great content there. And yeah, this show will be coming out within a week or two. And it's a good one. So for those of you listening out there and you want to learn a little bit more about spearfishing and some of the safety things, I kind of touched a little bit on safety. I mean, we actually went out on the ice on Monday, and my nephew stepped on a spot near a crack and started to go through, and we had to back away real quickly. But we had the right gear, and you just got to be safe out there. It's a dangerous place if you don't know what you're doing. So learn from experts, and if you get a chance to get out there and do a little ice fishing or spearing, I tell you what, it is so fun. It is just so much fun.
Well, Jeff, I'm glad you made it back safely, and it was a lot of fun sharing your experience with me and all of our listeners. So I guess our next modus operandus would be to get us a hog or something. We need to go hunting soon and get some fresh pork in the freezer. What do you think?
I'm ready to go.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramid Air. The website is PYRAMYD, pyramidair.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember pyramidair.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, cva.com. Kubi's Wild Game Processing and Kubi's Restaurant in Dallas. Folks, I want to introduce you to some good friends of mine at Dash for Cash Pawn Shop in Seagoville, Texas, located at 133 Hall Street. The phone number is 972-287-3121. Go by there and talk with Gary or Randy, the owner. They're great people. They've got some great prices. Again, that's the Dash for Cash Pawn Shop, Seagoville, Texas, 972-287-3121. Well, friends, this is Luke. I hope you've enjoyed our show half as much as I have, visiting with all of our guests. Gosh, we've been down in Mexico hunting coos deer with Mr. Whitetail, our buddy Larry Weishuhn, up in the Texas-Oklahoma border, striper fishing with Bill Carey. Those winter stripers are a lot of fun to catch and a lot of fun to eat, too. And how about our buddy Jeff Rice, all the way up around Michigan, up in there, ice fishing, speared him a big old northern pike, and I know his brothers real well, and his nephews, they had a ball, I know, eating those walleyes, too, that they caught. But speaking of eating, how many of you like to make chili? Every now and then I like to spend a little bit of time going in depth on the way I make chili. And I'll be right up front with you. I put beans in my chili, but it really is, no problem. If you like beans, put them in there. If you don't. It won't be Texas red if you put beans in them, but that's not what I make. The key to making good chili, friends, the way I like it, is smoked. I cook chili quite a bit differently than most people, but the meat, this time of year, a lot of us have all kind of ground meat, and even, like pork shoulders or wild pork hams, whatever. You can cut any kind of meat up and make chili out of it. You don't have to have it ground. You don't have to use ground meat. You can just take a pork shoulder or a venison shoulder or roast. Take a good sharp knife and just cube it up in little pieces if you don't want to grind it. And cook it long enough, it'll be, very, very tender. But what I do, I cook my chili over a wood fire. Well, maybe I need to clarify that. I've got a wood smoker that I put, I give it a smoke flavor. And I fry, you're going to sizzle the meat first. I usually chop a couple of jalapenos up in my chili meat, whether it's cubed up meat or ground meat. And I like to cook it over a wood fire. Now, I use an electric smoker a lot too, so this could trick people up. When I use my electric smoker, which is very often to put the smoke flavor into the meat, well, I'll cook it on a burner. I've got a little cooking shack outside behind the house out there, but I'll put it on a flame and cook it until it's gray. It's not tender, but it's cooked. And then I take it and put it over in my electric smoker. Now, if you've got a wood-fired smoker, you can just fry the meat right over I use a big old cast iron, number 14 cast iron Dutch kettle to make a big pot of chili. But, you can fry your meat over a burner or you can fry it right over a wood fire. But the way I do it, and may be different than the way you want to do it, but I'll go ahead and use a gas burner, propane, and cook it till it's gray, and then I move it over to my smoker. Now, I'll have that smoker loaded up, my smoking tex, with I'll put either some hickory wood or pecan. That's two woods that I have a lot of availability. I've got a bunch of both of them. So I'll use those type of woods, and then I will smoke that meat, and I'll leave it uncovered, of course, the Dutch kettle, with just the meat in there for a good hour. I want that smoke flavor to permeate that chili meat. Then at that point, I'll take the pot out and I'll add my tomatoes. I usually use chopped tomatoes. It doesn't matter because you're going to cook the tomatoes, so you could even use fresh tomatoes if you wanted to, but I usually use canned tomatoes. Put them in there, and then at that point I'll chop an onion up fairly fine and throw it in there with the meat and the jalapenos. And you got your tomatoes in any form. It could be like whole fresh tomatoes chopped up, or it could be tomato paste or whatever. Tomato base, let's just put it like that. And then I'll add some water to it, and then at that point is when I add the seasonings. Now, I use Wicks Fowler. It's a kit, and it has cumin, all the garlic, everything you need. But if I'm going to make a great big pot of chili, it would take 2 or 3 of those Wicks Fowler kits. So a lot of times I won't do that. I will just make the chili from scratch, and I don't use exact measurements. I will tell you that to make good chili, chili powder, you're going to need quite a bit of that. But mix chili powder in with your ground meat. Mix some cumin. Don't overpower it with cumin. If you're going to make I wouldn't use over 3 tablespoons of cumin in a big number 12 or 14 Dutch kettle. But put some cumin in there with it. And I like to use chopped garlic, or minced garlic. You can just use a garlic powder if you want to. Now, you've got your onion already in there, so you don't have to worry about that. A little paprika, put that in there. At that point, that's your basic chili. Chili powder, cumin, garlic. I like onion in mine. Salt to taste. And then you will need to, add water. You want a moisture in there. And then basically I stir all that up, and I like kidney beans in my chili, but you don't have to put any beans at all. If you put those beans in there and it smokes the beans and the meat, I think you'll be happy with the finished product. But I'll cut my smoker up to about 225. You don't want to put more smoke on it. So at that point, even if you're using a wood-fired smoker, by that time you're dealing with a bed of coals. Heat is what you're dealing with instead of smoke. So don't overpower it with smoke. Now, you could put a lid on it at that point, Or if you're worried about getting too much smoke on it, put a lid on it and just let it slow cook, and those flavors just blend. But chili is really simple to make. It's easy to make, but a lot of people get hung up on it. They think it's got to have exact portions of this or that. Sometimes I even put a little bit of sugar, a couple of tablespoons, I should say, of sugar in there with the chili and mix it up. But it's a good way to. Chances are very good if you're a hunter that you've got some cuts of meat in that freezer right now that you're probably wondering what to do with. It could be, ground burger. You can use venison burger. It's got the fat mixed in. Just straight old venison, without any fat. You can use that. Or just take a roast out, get that old knife sharp and cut it up into little bitty pieces. And believe it or not, with the moisture in there, the lid on that heavy Dutch kettle, a couple of hours, even chunked up pieces of venison or wild pork will cook through and through, and you'll have a very tender chili. And basically, just call your buddies up or your family, take the lid off that thing, set it down in the middle of the table, get you some crackers and some cheese, and maybe some people like to put a little sour cream on their chili. I don't, but I do like some good sharp cheddar cheese. Mix a little cheese in there and put some crackers in it. It's that time of year, friends. It's winter time, and I thought that would be a good tip for you, because I do have a lot of friends that thinks chili has to be the meat weighed out. I guess if you made chili all the time, you might want to do that, but follow this basic formula, and I think you're going to be happy with your chili. The main thing with me, beans or no beans, I really don't care. I usually put beans just to make the chili more chili, and you'll have more to eat if you got a bunch of people around, but I like chili without beans too. It's not a deal breaker for me. But the smoke, try that. If you haven't ever smoked your chili in your smoker, whatever type of smoker you've got, do give that a try. Folks, we are just about out of time. I will remind everybody, it's plenty early. We've got plenty of time to plan it, but March the 28th, I want to see all of you that can break loose up in North Texas to Greenville, Texas, to our 7th annual outdoor rendezvous. It's a lot of fun. It's at the Top Rail Cowboy Church, folks, and that's about an hour east of Greenville, right on Interstate 30. So if you're up in North Texas or you live here, we'll definitely come by. What's it like? Well, there's chuck wagons out there. I've got a big campfire going. We're going to have a bunch of blue catfish fried up. David Cotton, Edgar Cotton, they're coming up, and they've got one of these heavy-duty fish cookers. We usually just cook them in some big cast iron pots, but they're going to bring these fish cooker, and we're going to turn out a bunch of fried fish, hopefully enough for everybody out there. We usually have several hundred people show up, and if you'd like to come out, and Larry Weishuhn will be with us, Jeff Rice, he'll be out there filming a show, one of our Sportsman's Life show. I'll be doing some interviews for this show for Catfish Radio. And, gosh, it's just going to be a lot of fun. Miranda Lambert's dad, Rick's a good friend of ours. Rick may show up. He's come by several times. And got a blues band. Philip Farmer, my buddy, he's a music director at, I think, the Van Sickle Church out there in North Texas. But he's going to be Matthew Middleton with the Top Rail Cowboy Church and his group. They're going to be playing music. Just a good chance to come out and visit. And if you want to have a booth, here's how to find out more information about it. All you need to do is contact the church and tell them you're coming. That's it. And we just ask that the folks give a little donation, give what they can to the youth ministry there at the Top Rail Cowboy Church. But to find your directions, whatever, just Google Top Rail Cowboy Church, Greenville, Texas. My website has got the brochure on it. That's catfishradio.org. You can go there and get numbers and all that kind of stuff. But Google is the best way to find out how to get there for directions. Folks, we're out of time. I have had a good time visiting with everybody. Hunting seasons are winding to an end, but there's still a whole lot to do. I'm already thinking about turkey season and the white bass run up in some creeks up in Northeast Texas. Folks, have a good week, and make sure and tune in next week. Remember, after you've heard it here on our show on the radios, all our great stations, it's a podcast. It's called Catfish Radio with Luke Clayton and Friends. So if you missed something, you can always go back and listen. Be here right here with you next week at this same time. God bless all of you. Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring.